Welcome to the beautiful Newark Museum. One-on-one at from the Newark Museum. We are honored to have back with us our good friend Junius Williams, who is the chair of Newark Celebration 350 years here in Newark, New Jersey. Newark's been around that long, but he is so much more than that. He is an activist, he is a scholar, he is a published author many times over, and is a great friend of public broadcasting. Good to have you with us.
Good to be here.
By the way, what does this place represent, the Newark Museum?
Oh, this place represents a lot of triumphs for me. My first time coming here was when it had just been rehabilitated. My group came here, my singing group came, Return to the Source.
Your singing group?
Uh-huh.
See, I left that out.
You didn't put that in there.
Okay. Renaissance man. I should have said Renaissance man. What's the story with all the different things that you have been accomplished at? Why arts, culture, scholarly works, politics, ran for mayor? Is it because you just love to be engaged?
There's a common denominator, and that is I believe in organization. And all the things that I've done with, I've sorted this through. I mean, the singing is not by myself, it's with a group. I ran for mayor, as you said, but I had a political, small p history being with the Newark Area Planning Association, and I fight with the medical school and the medical school agreements.
You run a leadership group at Rutgers called?
I do, the Abbott Leadership Institute. So all of that's bringing people together to do something that they didn't possibly think they could do before.
Bringing people together. Tougher these days?
Yes, because there's been a mind game played on America. And do we have time for all of this? I mean,
don't talk about Newark. By the way, tell everyone, because we'll talk more about Newark Celebration 350. Tell us what that is, and then we'll talk bigger picture, philosophical stuff.
Well, the Newark Celebration 350 is a continuing series of events and happenings to celebrate the history of Newark, but also the present of Newark, and to make it clear that we are a city that's going forward. So it's something for everybody. We're in the wards, we're downtown. We received about 224 proposals, and we funded about 150 of them. And it's not all from the top. It's not all just a single set of events that are going to take place downtown, which are going to be good. We have some of those. But we went out into the wards. I made sure that we had ward meetings in all fives, into the neighborhood.
And where do the dollars come from?
The dollars come from foundations, from corporations, from individual donors.
And the mayor's involved?
The mayor's very much involved. We couldn't do it without the mayor.
Yeah.
We couldn't do it without the mayor.
What does that mean? Can't do it without
well, he's made the city available to us. There's certain kinds of permissions that you need. He's made that easier. There's certain places we want to go. He's made that easy. He's made some of his staff available to us.
What's your sense of Newark in the year 2016? What do you think? I know, huge, big picture. You've had last time we had you on was at NJIT, a great institution as well, and your book had come out, Unfinished Agenda.
Yes, very much.
So much more to talk about. Reader's Digest version. Where do you think we are right now?
Newark is right there.
Where?
Newark is right there on the cusp. And that's one of the things we want to make sure that folks understand. We have a golden opportunity to make people know that this is not the city that was advertised during the rebellion. The 1967 rebellion, which still holds in some people's mind. Newark has an opportunity to show that despite the fact that we have a large number of low-income people and poor people, certifiably poor, if you will, that with a dynamic mayor, we can do something about that. Newark has an opportunity to show that a downtown community, which includes a lot of commuters, that people want to do something that's going to put the shine on something more than just Broad Street. So I'm saying it's right there. It's on the cusp.
Is it more diverse? Is Newark more diverse than it was 10, 15 years ago?
Oh, sure.
How so?
A lot of immigrants, people coming from 50 years ago when I came in to Newark, the immigration was coming from the south to the north, and it was mostly black people. South to the north, also Puerto Ricans. Now you've got immigrants coming in from all over the place. I just saw, my wife showed me a statistic this morning. Most of the people coming from the south are coming from Haiti. And you've got the Dominican Republic. You've got Peru. Who knew Peru would have a lot of people coming in? So you've got another element of people coming in who don't speak English, and therefore whose demands upon the system are different. And the question is, and this is one of those right there kind of questions, what are we going to do, for example, at Barringer High School, where you've got
one of the public high schools here in the city?
One of the public high schools in the city, where you have several different foreign languages spoken as the native language, but you find cutbacks in the funds. You don't have those people who are able to transition kids from one
English,
language to another.
Junius. So English as a second language becomes very important. Transition, ability to transition, those things are very important. By the way, the 350 celebration, how much will you incorporate all of these different, diverse folks into the celebration?
If they came to us and asked us to do something, and it looked like it could be done, we said yes, because everybody deserves a right, as the old folks used to say, to the tree of life. So we're going to make it possible.
The public school, or let me just put it this way, the educational environment, the educational challenges, the educational opportunities, always a huge part of the mosaic here in the city. Or are we?
We don't have enough money in our public schools. We have a governor who has made sure that they keep the lid on taxes, but what that means is that a lot of poor kids don't have what they need. We were just talking about the English as a second language kids. They're also kids who are harder to educate because they come to school with issues.
So you talk about keeping a lid on taxes. I believe you're talking about state dollars to the city.
Yes, state dollars for education have been cut.
So devil's advocate, if those who would respond to that, Junius, would say, hey, wait a minute. The dollars spent per pupil in the city of Newark, comparatively, I mean, compare that to other communities, it's much higher. So how much more are we talking about of state tax dollars from others in suburban, wealthier communities would we be talking about? And when is enough enough? Some would argue that, you would say.
Well, first of all, compared to what? When you said that they are higher. The Abbott case said that the amount of money spent on pupils in Newark and Camden and places like that should be as high as that is which is spent in the I&J districts, which are the richer districts.
Are you referring to I don't want to get too arcane here, you're referring to a historic and important Supreme Court case that the New Jersey State Supreme Court determined that children in certain districts, originally Abbott versus Burke, I believe 28 school districts.
31.
30, well, okay, it's expanded. It has.
No, it was expanded. Okay. But now it's irrelevant.
Irrelevant because?
Because it was cut out. The Abbott program was killed in 2008. I use it as a benchmark.
Meaning the money wasn't there?
The money was cut back because a new law was put into place under Governor Corzine. Then the next year, in 2009, Governor Christie said, well, we're going to even cut back more.
What did it mean? When that happened, what did it mean?
Well, it meant that you lose...
For these children, in your opinion?
It meant that you lose teachers, you lose social workers, you lose counselors, you lose librarians, you lose books. A lot of the kids in Newark now have substitute teachers. One of the kids in my youth program said, now we have substitutes for the substitutes because they don't have full-term teachers, and that's obviously a problem.
A whole other debate on charter schools. We'll continue it in another discussion. Economic development opportunities in the city. We've talked to a lot of developers, a lot of people involved in investing in the downtown. Some good, positive things happening in that way, no?
Yes. Yes.
What could it mean for the city in the next 5 to 10 years?
Well, we hope it means jobs. We hope it means not just jobs, but
what kind of jobs?
Economic opportunity for people to become businessmen and women who are ordinarily thought of that way. There's certain sectors in the population that are very much in need of job training, job development. We hope that's what it means. So we can only be hopeful on that.
Do you believe, excuse me, Junius, that those who are bullish, excuse me, on the high-tech part of this, that Newark can be a hub for high-tech activity comparable to what has happened in Brooklyn, which has been a real boon for Brooklyn? You say what to that? I mean, Don Katz and others who, Audible, I mean, he's with the Audible team, they've done significant things. You say what about that?
Well, NJIT is training a lot of good people. Don Katz is looking for a lot of good people. But the question is, where are the Newarkers who are coming through the pipeline, which gets back to our discussion on education?
They have to be trained for, they have to be prepared for that.
And they have to have equipment. And that's where we get back to the example of Barringer, where a lot of the computers, the public high schools, the computers are old, and in most cases they don't work. And they don't have high-speed internet. So how are you going to bring that section of the population to those high-tech jobs?
Junius, you've seen a fair number of things in your 50 years in the city?
50 years living and or working in Newark.
So you're a Newarker. You're committed to the city. You're known in the city. You're respected in so many ways, in so many circles. You remain optimistic, but you have never been shy about pointing out what you perceive to be the problems and what you believe the solutions are. Overall, optimistic.
Optimistic.
Because?
Because I see the young people in my program, the Youth Media Symposium, who we're training to become leaders, teaching them that they are capable of having a voice, that their voice is worth listening to, and if they learn the skills associated with the media, doing things like you do on camera, but also off camera, like this gentleman is doing, they will they will have a voice that people have to listen to. And I'm listening to them right now. I mean, I had a young lady speaking to the Senate Budget Committee yesterday, and she was amazing. The way she projected herself. Now, this is a young lady that came from the Dominican Republic 3 years ago who didn't speak English, who is now at the top of her class at that same school, Barringer. But she's saying, I don't see that we're getting what we deserve here.
How proud of her were you? How proud were you of her when she was up there doing that before the Senate
wanted to hug her before she finished. And when she got down, Senator Teresa Ruiz came up and hugged her. Everybody was so happy that she did what she was doing.
Is it hard for people to understand why a Newark kid who comes from the Dominican Republic gets up before a legislative committee and does that? I mean, it's a big deal for any young person, but it's particularly a big deal for a kid overcoming all kinds of obstacles and challenges, right?
Yes, because this is a controversial statement, but I believe schools, public schools, charter schools, do very little to help kids to become the leaders that they can.
And you include charter schools in that?
I include that as well. We have charter school kids in our program as well. And they're very shy and very reticent. They know very little about politics. One of the things I do personally is to talk to them about this election that's coming up.
The presidential?
The presidential election. And there's no emphasis placed on what we used to call social studies. There's no real emphasis on history. And the history that they're taught is so bottomed out, it's so basic. You know, Martin Luther King was a great man because he was a soldier for peace and love. I mean, come on.
What would you take? I'm afraid to, I'm not afraid, but I'm concerned about opening up this huge Pandora's box. But if I said to you, as a scholar, as an academic, as a teacher, as a leader of these young people, say, and we're doing this in the spring of 2016, just for argument's sake, Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton in the fall are the candidates, you know. What do you think the message of that campaign would be for those students to take away and say, this is what I learned about the political process?
Well, you see, Hillary Clinton, I think, has to make more of a statement to these young people because she's not firing it up. Donald Trump is meeting that burden, but with another section of kids. I don't think our kids, we don't have to worry about our kids listening to Donald Trump. But the question is, can Hillary Clinton turn them on enough, those are the 18, to come out
and if she doesn't,
Trump.
And he doesn't?
Well,
and they just say, I pass? Is that good enough?
That's not good. That's exactly what I'm talking about.
I got it.
I'm optimistic because I'm teaching kids not to be those kids who just opt out.
That's not an option.
That's not an
Before I
option.
let you go, Newark Celebration 350, tell everybody why it's so exciting.
It's exciting because this is a victory lap for Newark, and people are seeing it as that. I haven't heard a bad word about it because people have an opportunity to get involved. We could have had just one or two big events downtown, but we spread out into all 5 wards, and we're letting people express themselves to pick their own heroes and sheroes, to pick the events that they think are good, and everybody seems to be happy.
We try to pick a small snippet of what we do. We call one-on-one in one. I'm going to put you on the spot. Give me a great soundbite. You ready?
Ready?
Describe the future of the city of Newark in 1 minute or less.
Young people are going to take over and change the whole paradigm dynamically.
How?
Because they're going to see things that we don't see, and they're going to make sure they get it. We at the leadership, the leadership development that I'm doing with people is making people see that 2 + 2 doesn't always have to equal 4. Sometimes it can equal 5, but you have to go out and make it happen.
And you remain optimistic.
That's why I remain optimistic.
Thank you, Junius.
Thank you.
In the spirit of the great Dr. Clement Price, who was a mentor to all of us, we continue our work.
Yes.
Thank you, Junius.
Thank you for helping us.
You got it. Stay with us. We're right back from the Newark Museum, one-on-one, right after this. Thank you.
One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been a production of the CAUCUS Educational Corporation, celebrating over 25 years of broadcast excellence. And by the Newark Museum, in cooperation with NJTV and 13 for WNET. Funding for this special edition of One-on-One with Steve Adubato at Newark Museum has been provided by Bank of America, PSE&G, Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey, the Fidelco Group, Johnson & Johnson, Prudential Financial's Global Communications Department, and by Barnabas Health. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area.